Who should Spider-Man marry, according to science? So, over the years, Spider-Man has had a lot of love interests, with his story spanning over 3 completely different Hollywood reboots. We have the original movies from the 2000s, the Amazing Spider-Man series from the 2010s, and most recently, the Tom Holland Spider-Man series. And throughout these different films, he has a lot of love interests. So, let's go down our list of lucky contestants. First off, we have Mary Jane from the Raimi movies, bro. She's redhead, she's evil, she's a terrible person, and I hate her. Next up, we have Gwen Stacy from the Amazing Spider-Man series. She's a genius scientist, the top of her class, and got a full ride scholarship to one of the top universities in the world. She comes from a great family, but she's an even better person. It's Gwen Stacy from the Amazing Spider-Man series. And next up, we have MJ from the newest Spider-Man films. She has trouble making social connections, but she's shown to be very calm, extremely intelligent, and fiercely loyal, sticking by Spider-Man's side no matter what happens. It's MJ from the newest Spider-Man films. So, now that we have our contestants laid out, let's see who Spider-Man should marry. But before we do any of that, we should answer the question, should Spider-Man get married in the first place? And the answer, according to science, is absolutely yes. According to Harvard University, running one of the longest concurrent scientific experiments in history, which focuses on key factors related to happiness, longevity, and health, and it was found that men who are married live significantly longer lives than those who are unmarried. So, now that we know according to science, Spider-Man should definitely get married, let's look at which potential wife will be the best option for him. So let's look at our first criteria, family life. Believe it or not, but if your parents are divorced, it can greatly affect the chances that you'll end up with a divorce in your lifetime as well. So, what do the statistics say? According to Nicholas Wolfinger, professor in the Department of Family and Consumer Studies at the University of Utah, the risk of divorce is 50% higher in marriage when one of the partners comes from a divorced household, and it's 200% higher when both partners do. And certain studies have shown that daughters of divorced parents have a 60% higher divorce rate in marriage compared to sons with only a 35% higher rate. So, let's look at each Mary Jane and see how they stack up. First off, Mary Jane from the really old movies. And since her parents aren't married, she loses a point here. Next, we have Gwen Stacy from The Amazing Spider-Man. In this movie, it's actually emphasized what a nice family she comes from. They're seen sitting down at the dinner table together, and her parents are shown to have a nice, happy marriage. Next up, we have MJ from the newest Spider-Man movies. Throughout the course of the series, it's never explicitly said that her parents are divorced. However, the writers have said in an interview that they intended the character to come from a broken household, where her father left her life and then came back, meaning her parents aren't married in this one either. However, it's never outright said in the movies. So, she doesn't gain or lose any points here. Meaning for the first round, Gwen Stacy from The Amazing Spider-Man is the winner. Next, we have education. Statistically, the more educated you are, the less likely you are to have a divorce. First off, Mary Jane from the old movies. It's shown that she graduates high school, but it's never shown that she attends college or any kind of formal education after the fact. What she ends up doing is working a job as a diner and then eventually becoming a successful actress until she is no longer successful. And next, we have Gwen Stacy from the Amazing Spider-Man movies. It's shown that she graduates high school, top of her class, works as an intern at a top corporation, and receives a full scholarship to one of the most prestigious universities in the world. Unfortunately, she never got to attend because, you know, but it's almost guaranteed she would have, so we're gonna give her the points here. Next, we have MJ from the newest movies. She's a part of the school's academic decathlon team, shown to be a huge contributor, and cares about her future education. In Spider-Man No Way Home, it's a huge plot point her getting into college. She's initially rejected from MIT for being associated with Spider-Man. However, she cares a great deal about it, and at the end of the film, she's finally accepted into MIT, meaning that she also gets points here. So, Gwen Stacy and MJ from the newest movies are both getting points here. Next up, we have their occupation. So believe it or not, whatever job you have can greatly decrease or increase the chances that you get a divorce. Some of the jobs with the highest divorce rate are dancer, bartenders, massage therapists, and nurses. Some of the jobs with the lowest divorce rates include dentists, farmers, clergy, optometrists, and at the very bottom of the list, agricultural engineers. So if you're ever trying to find a sure win, make sure you go down to your school's agricultural engineering department. So let's look at each of their jobs and see how they stack up. First off, Mary Jane from the original movies. She is an actor, and they have a divorce rate of 50% within the first 14 years of marriage, which is higher than the average, meaning she also loses points here. Next up, Gwen Stacy and MJ. Now, since Gwen Stacy's before she could get a job, and MJ's working at a donut shop while she's in school, it's not exactly known what their future occupation will be. However, they're both likely to become scientists, with Gwen Stacy having an internship at one of the top companies in New York, and MJ getting accepted into MIT and being part of her school's decathlon team. The divorce rate for scientists is around 20%, which also goes hand in hand with how much education you have lowering your divorce rate. Meaning, MJ and Gwen Stacy take the point here. Next is their history, and how many hugging partners they have before they're married. So, if you begin hugging people as a teenager, instead of waiting until the age of 18 or older, you're more than twice as likely to get divorced in your first 5 years of marriage. And women with 6 or more premarital hugging partners are 3 times less likely to be in a stable marriage. So, let's look at how Spider-Man's potential wives stack up. First off, we have Mary Jane. I hate this girl, bro. She's done so much bad stuff. Alright, bro. Let me just give you a summary of what happens to her in this movie. In the beginning of the movie, she's dating a guy named Flash, who bullies Peter. Then they break up during their high school graduation. She goes on to date Peter's best friend, and Peter's best friend is pretty mean to her. But while still in a relationship with him, instead of breaking up with him, she kisses Spider-Man, flirts with Peter Parker, who she doesn't know is Spider-Man, and then, at the end of the movie, she breaks up with him and confesses her love for her ex's best friend. Next up in the sequel, after getting rejected by Peter, she quickly gets engaged to an astronaut, and while engaged and having a fiance, she listens to her heart and her true love and tries to rekindle things with Peter. Then, at her wedding ceremony, she ditches at the last minute and becomes Peter's girlfriend again. Then, after all that, it said in the original script that as an actress, she was sometimes kissing her coworkers on stage, and that's why Peter kissed Gwen Stacy in this film, which leads to them breaking up and getting back together again. So overall, even though it's not explicitly said that she's had more than 6 partners, we can safely assume that she gets no points here. Next up, we have Gwen Stacy. Even though it's not explicitly said if or how many boyfriends she's had before Peter, it is implied that she has a little bit of experience. Next up, we have MJ. She's never shown having any romantic feelings for anyone prior to Peter, and she's shown to be extremely shy when alone with Peter. So even though the evidence is flimsy, it's the best we have, meaning MJ gets the points here. Next up is neuroticism. Neuroticism is a personality trait that's associated with negative emotions, including doubt, anxiety, and depression. Neuroticism is such a big contributing factor that when it's multiplied in mental illnesses, it results in 9 out of 10 marriages involving someone with bipolar disorder ending in divorce. So let's see how they all stack up. First off, we have Mary Jane from the original movies. She's constantly seen screaming and yelling, but they are in dangerous situations, so we'll give her a pass there. However, she's often seen as being unable to take criticism and having constant negative emotions, with her even saying that she can't take criticism because when she hears people criticizing her, she hears her father's voice, meaning she loses points here. Next, we have MJ. MJ has trouble forming personal social connections with people, talking to people. This often results in her being unintentionally rude to people she wants to make friends with. But she is calm under tense situations and has shown to have a lot of positive qualities, so we're not going to add or take points here. Next is Gwen Stacy, who's constantly seen as being resilient, having great social skills, and handles trauma and stress extremely well, meaning she gets a lot of bonus points there. Next up is finances. Finances have been shown to be a major stressor in relationships, increasing the likelihood of divorce. And this plays out because if you have an annual income of over $50,000, it can decrease the risk of divorce by as much as 30% versus those with an income of under $25,000 a year. And seeing how being Spider-Man doesn't make you any money, and Mary Jane from the original movies is working at a small shop, MJ and Gwen Stacy both get points here, with promising future careers, guaranteed to make over $50,000 a year. Next, we have political affiliation. So, liberals have a 30% chance of getting divorced, while conservatives are at 28%. Mary Jane from the original movies, we have no idea what she is, so she's left out of here. But we do have some clues for what MJ and Gwen Stacy can be. So, your political ideology is greatly affected by your parents, meaning if your parents are Republicans, you're more likely to be a Republican, and if they're Democrats, you're more likely to be a Democrat. And since Gwen Stacy's father is a police officer, and police officers are much more likely to be Republican, we can safely assume she's more right-leaning. While MJ from the newest movies is shown to want to protest and is also given slight clues that she's more left-leaning. So, Gwen Stacy gets a point here. So, if we add up all the points, Gwen Stacy is the winner. If only she wasn't subscribe.